So, neutral density filters with your iPhone. Yes and no. Firstly, if I was recording video content with my iPhone, I totally get it. Using something like the Blackmagic Cam app, which is superb, and actually the one that Apple used recently to film one of their ads, then using neutral density filters is definitely a thing. In video, ideally you want your shutter speed to be twice your frame rate. So if you were shooting at say 25 frames per second, you'd need your shutter speed to be 1/50th of a second to give that natural motion blur look. Outdoors though, setting the video app into manual exposure would make it really difficult to lock in that shutter speed and still have a well exposed scene. You can see here when I don't have a neutral density filter fitted how overexposed the image is, but then I add a variable neutral density filter and bam, perfect exposure at 25 frames per second and 1/50th of a second shutter speed. So yeah, neutral density filters to use with your iPhone when you're doing video makes total sense. And just here I've got two which would and do work perfectly for it. These are circular variable neutral density filters, and I've got two different ones. I've got one here that goes from 1.5 stops to 5 stops, and you hopefully see if I can twist this so you see the difference. There we go. That's wide up to 1.5 stops, and then it goes darker as I twist it round towards the 5 stop kind of range. That's that one there. And then you've got the 6 to 9 stops as well. That kind of rotates as well, so it'll be completely dark when I rotate that. So these are definitely an option. Great for when you've got video so that you can just turn them depending on where you're going. And these here are magnetic. So if I was going to use them with the iPhone, you have an adapt. If I'm using just the iPhone lenses, the native iPhone lenses, that adapter there, metal adapter, would go over the 1X lens, the 24mm lens. And then these here, these neutral density filters, these variable ones, they're all magnetic. So they lock in onto there. That's quite a reassuring kind of lock onto that. So I could use them like that. And if I needed more neutral density, I could also stack them because they're all magnetic and they kind of lock in together like so. So yeah, you could definitely use them like that. But let me just show you what other neutral density filters I've got here. Obviously these here, the 6 to 9 stops, the 1.5 to 5 stops. And then we've also got, let's have a look here. This one is ND8. You see when I shine to it. So neutral density 8. This one here is a neutral density 16. Just there. Then we've got neutral density 32. And then finally, neutral density 64. So there's a lot there. All these different filters here, which is kind of taking me away from what I love about doing stuff mobile, making it really portable and carrying less. Having the lenses is one thing, and now I'm bringing in all this kind of stuff as well. But that's mainly for video. But what about using neutral density filters for photography with your iPhone? Now this I don't get. Hear me out. That re-expose app that I use a lot for my Seascape long exposures. Now that produces RAW files, but not ProRAW 48 megapixel types. It produces 12 megapixel Bayer RAW files, like all long exposure apps. So my thoughts were, use a pro camera app like Reflex or Moment and use neutral density filters to slow the shutter down to that half a second or 1 second, so that I get a long exposure file in the Pro RAW at 48 megapixels. That's what I was thinking, but it's not to be. Certainly not yet anyway. So if I use that Reflex Pro Camera app, or any Pro Camera app for that matter, the moment I adjust the settings like shutter speed and ISO, the file drops from 48 megapixels to 12 megapixels. So can I slow the shutter down by adding the neutral density filters? Well, the answer is yes and no, because yes, if you add a neutral density filter, then the shutter speed does slow down. However, It won't go any slower than 1/15 of a second, so nowhere near the half a second or 1 second I need for my crashing waves. No matter how many neutral density filters I add, it simply won't go slower than 1/15 of a second, and I've tried this on other pro camera apps. If I want to go slower, then I need to manually adjust the shutter speed, which then drops the file to 12 megapixels, which is what the re-expose app that I use for long exposure does anyway. Oh, and to let you know what I have stacked on here, I have the 1 to 5 variable at 5 stops, the 6 to 9 variable at 9 stops, the ND64, the ND32 and the ND16, which altogether gives a total of 29 stops of neutral density. That's a lot, but it won't budge slower than 1/15 of a second. Unless Apple change how the iOS works so that we can manually change settings and remain at 48 megapixels, I really don't see the point of neutral density filters for photography with the iPhone. So I hope this has been useful in some way and maybe given you something to think about, especially the filter side of things, and maybe it's helped you to decide whether you do need that bit of kit or not.
If you love photography and you have an iPhone, then join us this March at the iPhone Photography Conference. Sign up at KelbyOneLive.com.